live.
Uh,
We're probably live. Yes, we are live. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another lovely episode of the Brandon Bonanza show. And I'm having some issues with my mouse, so things might take me a little longer, but no worries. I'm going to open the show like I do all the time with a quote. And here we go. The quote is, "Reality remains unknowable to us while we cling to our illusions."
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, and I stole this from, there's a guy called Archaic, well, his channel's called Archaics, his name is Jason, and he had this video of like all these great quotes, so I always go through there and steal quotes from him, but I put his website up there, so I'm sure he doesn't care. Yeah, so all right, everybody, my guest today is Quinton, aka Hobbit Bear. And I met him through the bear community, and he hit me up and he's like, "Yo, let's do a live stream." And I'm like, "Yo, let's do it." So we're doing it. So what's up, Quinton? How you doing?
For show.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude. That's awesome, man. I appreciate you having me on. And I'm really thankful for the bear community. And I kind of started out on hanging with bears, and I would, chatting with Papa J Bear, and we started off like I was debating whether to put my shades on, because every time me and Papa J Bear would talk on hanging with bears, we'd both wear shades all the time. It was like a Blues Brothers kind of thing,
Nice. I don't even know if I have any down here. And I do have this, though. I have, just in case we need this, I have my allegedly hat. So I always whip that out just in case.
Yeah, man. I'm kind of jealous of your backdrop, dude. That thing looks so cool, feng shui,
Yeah, it's I've been telling people, but it's just a shower curtain that I got on Amazon, because behind it's just paneling. So I was like, I need something funky, and I hate using those fake backgrounds because sometimes it's cool, but most times it just looks fake, I don't know. So I was like, I'm going to get something funky. So I looked through Amazon for like, I don't know, 20 minutes trying to find a good one. And they have a ton of really cool ones, but some of them are just the picture itself was too big, like the landscape, you wouldn't get what it was, but this one was perfect. I'm like, I can even zoom in like on my head and it would look good. So
I just like it because it looks like fangs, like teeth, it's cool,
yeah.
cool looking,
Yeah, it's fancy, and if you look at it long enough, you might like go crazy, which I like.
if you're doing some like serious like trippy stuff, you're like, oh, it's coming for me,
Yeah, I could just imagine. I bet if you were doing some kind of psychedelic, it might start spinning. You'd be like, watch out, Brandon, there's a vortex behind you. I'm like, I'm fine.
Yeah, man, I just got my guitar back here in the background, and I just recently I got Woodshop Bear. He hooked me up with some guitar picks, man. They're pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, I saw him showing them on his Instagram. Those are pretty cool. Yeah, shout out to Woodshop. I just had him on last week. What a crazy mind melting show that was, about writing and stuff. And of course, Gandalf, who I love.
It's amazing, man. He keeps pushing forward, and he's always crushing, despite whatever obstacles thrown at him, and I respect that a lot,
Yeah, it is very inspirational because he does have a lot of issues pop up, especially from the accident he had. We talked about that in the Oversharing show, and just little things here and there, but he seems to always get through it and then come out on the other side better than he was. So, this time he came out and he wrote a book. So it's like, you can't stop that guy. I love it. That's what I love about the bear community. Most people are like that or aspiring to be like that. So when you go to a meetup, which I highly recommend, when you go to a meetup and meet some of these people, it's very healing. I remember I went to a meetup in last November, 2021, right around Thanksgiving in Connecticut. And there was Camera Bear was there with his family and a bunch of others. I think Chris, who's in the chat, he was there. And it was just healing because it was at a time where they're really pushing that experimental medical serum on people. And everybody there was just able to talk about how ridiculous it was. And then just other stuff, share fun stuff with their life. And I was looking around and I was like, this is literally healing. Like people are just less anxiety, hanging out. And yeah, I mean, it's what Owen has done is like, honestly, it's beautiful. But the thing about it is it took the other people that were fans of his or follow him and stuff. It wasn't just him that did it all. It was the amazing people he got together. So I guess I can ask you, how did you come across him? What was that like? And how did you wake up to a lot of this, truth in the world, I'll say?
Well, it's wild, man. Like, you know, it's like a chain of events happened. You know, it's like I remember just one day I walked upstairs and see, like, I was the kid in school that I didn't care if I made good grades or whatever. Like I just did not. I was there and I was like, this is like a prison. You know, I can't wait to get out of here and go home and see. I'm a country boy, you know, so I had farmland. It's like I felt free, you know, right there, right where I'm from, you know, and then when you get to school, it's like a prison, you know. But anyway,
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
But yeah, anyway, long story short, well, I'll make the story a little long, but but yeah, like one day I got up and I went upstairs and my dad was like, you know what, son, I think the earth is flat. And I was like, you know what, I don't think I think that makes a lot of sense. You know, it's almost like when you're in the school system, it's like they push it so hard that then when you just take a step back and like think about it, it's so obvious, you know?
Yeah, and NASA and everything has permeated the society so much. You know, I went to I won't say who, I went to a house recently for a little birthday party for my niece, and like there was two globes. They had like one globe out on their coffee table and then like one out in the other room. And I'm like, these people love the globe. But yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a part of our DNA, you know, as Americans. I mean, a lot of people, especially, you know, at that time, that was after Vietnam, you know, and that's about all they had to look forward to. It's like we've done all this bad stuff. It's like we need something good. Let's send them to the moon, you know, or let's put the United States flag on the moon, and we'll be the first to do something good, you know.
Yeah.
So I kind of
go ahead.
Yeah, so I kind of get why they did it, you know, in a weird way. Like it was a distraction. It was almost necessary at the time.
Oh yeah, so, it brought everybody together as a nation, that because they were, and I think I see that a lot in history. There's these periods where people are like, there's a lot of division, and then there'll be something like the JFK, you know, thing that happened, that it brings everybody together. And then there's division, and then they bring people together. Yeah, it's like I think that's how they charge the battery.
Yeah, and it's kind of like what's happening now. It's kind of exactly what's happening now with the
with the 2020 nonsense.
Yeah, yeah. But the C-19, I guess I could say, I don't know, whatever. But it's all propaganda, you know. It's a reset, but it has to be a reset. It's kind of like, you know, but it's almost like they don't even have they got away with a lot of it because they put a little bit of truth in it, but now it's almost like the truth has run out, you know, of it, you know.
Oh yeah, and I was saying this earlier to some friends. I live in Connecticut, and there's a governor election coming up in November. And the governor we have, of course, is like, I'll just say he's a Democrat. He's like a really good at being a Democrat. And so he had a commercial that was running, and it was against the guy, I guess, who's a Republican who's running. And they're like, do you know that Bob Stefanowski he's friends with the NRA. He thinks that people should own guns. And then he's like, and then they're like, you know, he's not a friend of abortion and all this stuff. And I was like, is this a commercial for Bob Stefanowski? Like, because it sounds like most people I've been talking to lately are going to agree, even in Connecticut, they're going to agree with that, what he's saying, you know, and it's meant to slander him, but it sounds like it's an advertisement for him. So I'm just like, I really see the script flip that Owen has talked about and others have talked about. I see this coming, and I think it's going to be very interesting times. You know, we saw 2020, we lived through that, and this I think is just going to be a swing to the other way. It's going to get nuts, but it'll be interesting to say the least, you know.
Yeah, politically, it's always a circus, you know, and it's like you know, Owen was talking about, you know, it's like Trump was running well, you know, first of all, they just like I feel like Trump may have, you know, not to get too political or anything, but Trump, I think he started off like having some good ideas, and originally he did want to run independent. You know, remember that? Like at the very beginning, he wanted to go independent, and then they're like, "No, but no, you'll never win as an independent." You know, so basically, you got to pick a side. You know, it's all Pepsi versus Coke. You know, it's all.
Yeah,
That's
it
all.
totally is. He was saying a lot of great things in the beginning, and I think that's why a lot of people were attracted to him. But then some people, the problem is they, you know, I'm allowed to say problem, but I just say what I see is a lot of people are busy. They don't really pay attention. They don't realize that he was the godfather of that experimental medical serum, and he pushed it so much. Like even people I know who are Trump supporters that I'm friends with, I'll say that to them and they'll be like, "That's true." And I'm like, "Yeah, look it up." And then they're like, "Oh man." But they just really feel like they have to root for one guy or the other. They just, you know, so they're like, well, we'll just overlook all that stuff, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, man. Let's see.
Well, you were talking about your dad and stuff. So how did that go when he said that to you about this might not be in a spinning globe? What was that like?
Well, it was pretty amazing. Like, and now it's like he's really basically the only one I can really talk about it with, you know, because everybody else kind of is in that, you know, still in that mindset, you know, which is okay. You know, that's why I like Owen. You know, he's like you know, you still got to be friends with people, you know, just because you can't. That's not a good reason to not be friends with somebody.
Yeah,
But
like
it's
90s
just
friends.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it does do something to you, man. Once you see it, it's like now once you see it, you can't like you unless you're Joe Rogan, you know, and can flip flop on a dime, you know. But being truthful really means something, and I really think, you know, I really think there's something to that. Like the truth will set you free. I think that's one of my favorite lines, you know, in the Bible, you know, and I really appreciate people who are like not churchians, but like true Christians who actually follow the Bible, you know. So I'm all about that, and it you know oh yeah, this is what I was going to say. There was 2 points I seen a meme today, and it was, I mean, it's forget flat Earth and forget all that. It's just so obvious that we did not go to the moon. You know, just if you just take it there, you know, if for people just taking baby steps, like I seen a meme today, and it was like there was a picture in the newspaper of the moon landing the very next day after the moon landing, and supposedly it takes 3 days to get back from the moon, and at that time they had to develop a photo. It's like it's just impossible. None of it, and then not to mention, you know, calling the moon, like the president called the moon from a landline. Are you kidding me? You know, get real, you know.
Yeah, that's always what was hilarious to me. I was onto that stuff in like 2001 because I was in the car business, and we would just sit around and the internet was pretty new. So we'd be looking up stuff. And I remember my friend Mario, shout out to my friend Mario Recupido. He lives in Daytona now. He's got a restaurant and stuff. It's great. But he was like, check out these videos. And they're all about the moon landing. And it was so obvious then, because I think a lot of those videos probably got disappeared down the rabbit hole or whatever. But there's some stuff that was just so obvious. And we were just like, oh my God, we didn't go to the moon. And I immediately was on board with that. Like I had no reservations or I didn't care at all. But I know a lot of people, but it's funny because throughout the years, I would always say that to people and they would agree with me, or they would be like, yeah, there is something to it. I never really had any resistance until recently. Now, when you say it, you know, people are like, oh, how dare you? Not everybody, but it's really funny how it became, it's like a political thing kind of, you know, maybe because Trump talked about it or something. I don't know, but it's just funny how the consciousness changes in society, you know, like, and I go along just like remembering all that other stuff, you know. I don't know. It's hilarious. People are funny. I don't even get mad anymore.
Yeah. And it's, but the reason, I mean, you can go down many, but once you open up to the moon landing, and that I don't really want to say flat Earth, because that puts you in the category of it's this or it's that,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Amen, brother.
Yeah. So yeah, I do like your approach and about realm Earth. I do like that, because it gives you a level playing field to where you can have a conversation, and you can kind of throw in, your opinion with somebody that might have an opposite opinion.
Oh yeah.
It gives you, it at least gives them a chance to state their point of view, because there is something that we all don't know. There's some things we all don't know. And, it's just like you go into like the stars, and like you look up at the sky and you see the same stars at the same sky. It's like that in itself, tells me that there's something, there's order, there is a functional element to what we're in, and it's not chaos, and we're not monkeys, and there's some, they want to keep you in that level so you can't go past, and I almost feel like, and this is going to sound kind of bad, because I'm a Christian, but I also think the religion keeps the cap on being a real Christian. Like there's so much gravy in the Bible, but I think they limit you to certain little things, and like, you're bad and we want you to pay your tithes and then get out of here and I'll see you on Sunday,
Yeah, exactly. And the thing that I found, because I don't have, this is the secret about me, I don't have much of a life, and I love to study these things, and I guess similar like to Owen always talks about, he has this way to like put things together, and I play poker and I'm really good. I play chess and I'm really good, because I could put all these pieces of everything that's going on together. And when I looked into, because what happened with me was I was a Christian, I was Catholic growing up, and then I became a born again Christian when I was like in 4th and 5th grade. And then we stopped going to that church, but I still had those beliefs. Then when I went into the Marine Corps, I went to that church again, like a born again kind of church. And then it wasn't until like 2006, I think it was for me. So I was probably about 30, when I watched this video about astrotheology, and it explained how all the stuff that happens in the Bible is like written in the stars, right? So I had a totally different point of view back then than I do now. Now I think it's an eternal story, and that's why it's there, because it's basically the message that we need to know, and then it just gets put down. And I think that it could happen, because what happens in the sky plays out, because I believe it's just a reflection, so it plays out here in our realm. So I think that both can be true. And there could have been a Jesus Christ who walked the earth but I don't think it was who we were told. There's probably a lot of gravel, and he was probably really funny. I know we talked about this, and I think you think this was funny. And then what happened was the Romans, all these people in the time, it was starting to catch on because it made so much sense. And then the Romans were like, well, we can't have people living like Christ lived like that. We can't have everybody, because then we won't be able to grapple them. So then they're like, all right, what are we going to do? We got to create this religion. And then they take all these elements of truth, and they even take stuff from the pagan, a lot of stuff from that. They kind of put it together, and they have a couple councils. And then it also creates division. So when you start to question it, people are like, oh, you're not a Christian. It's like, oh no, I do live my life every day trying to do what Jesus would do. Do you? Does that make me a Christian? Does it matter if you really did walk? Because I say, I don't know, but I'll say to people, like, does it matter if somebody believes he did or didn't walk on the earth? As long as they're living their life in accordance with that rule, I think then we can all kind of get together and have a great society, people that believe that. And that's what the Bears are like, because there's Muslims, there's pagans, there's heathens, there's all kinds of people. And it's great because we can all connect on this one level of humor. That's what really brought us together, right? Was the hilarity of Owen Benjamin. I mean, that guy, I used to watch South Park back in the day because I always needed some kind of release, and then once I got more into the conspiracy stuff, I strayed away a little bit from that. And then I found like Owen Benjamin, and I was like, whoa, he's calling this stuff out, and I think he was a big fan of South Park too. So it's kind of like the similar, but it's not like South Park started it. It's just satire of what's going on. People have been doing it for years with cartoons and stuff. So when I got into that, it just like, it blew my mind. It put me on like a whole other level, and to be around all these people who you never know. And like I was saying before I started this whole side rant, I went down these rabbit holes and looked into all this stuff. And it's like, it's crazy. The people who like took the books of the Bible from other cultures and put them all together, those are the same people that we call the Jays, allegedly. And it's not everyone, it's the people who call themselves a Jay, but they're not really. They're probably like a functioning Satanist, right? And it's that line like that did that too back then. Well, allegedly, because we don't really know, but there's a lot of evidence that's been buried and hidden that would suggest that they did that, and they might have left some out and all this stuff. But I think they had to leave in a lot of good stuff because they needed truth for it to stick and for it to work. So that's why I don't say the Bible's bad. It's just what you do with that information. It's like a tool, like a hammer. You could smash your face in, or you could build a barn. You know what I mean? So
yeah, when you said that, that brought up a point to me the other night when you said that, and I thought about that, man. It's kind of like if you go and you read about Moses, man, that's magic. I mean, to be able to part the sea, okay, that's one form of magic. Then if you take a really good look at what it said about him turning the staff into a serpent, Pharaoh also did that. So that tells me there's good magic and bad magic, which is kind of like white magic and black magic, But
yeah, 100%.
So I feel like, and I feel like there's symbolisms of snakes, but like I feel like there was a thing in the Bible about they would put a snake on like a cross, kind of and that's how we got the caduce, like the medical, in the medical. So in that way, they were trying. It's almost like they wanted to crucify, Christ, and he said, they will not only, will they hate me, but they will hate you if you, so bear your cross and all that. And that's, I like that. It's like, it tells you, like, don't fear anything, don't fear speaking your mind. So I like that. Even if you're not a Christian or whatever, I like that philosophy of don't fear anything, don't be afraid to stand up for what you believe, And that even if you die, even if even if they torture you, and so I mean, so I think in that sense it's pretty cool. And even I think there's even in like Greek mythology, I think there's even connections to that. Like I think there was I think there was a great healer that they had to kill because he had the key to not to being immortal. So it was kind of they didn't like that.
No, and I like what you said about the snakes, because again, we don't know if any of this is true, but I've heard, and it makes a lot of sense, that the Druids, who were around, whatever, thousands of years ago, if there was some kind of worldwide civilization that we don't know about, but the Druids were the ones who were going around and spreading this message, the same message of Christ, and they had all these different things they did, and they were known as snakes. And then you hear St. Patrick expels all the snakes from Ireland, which Ireland was like their home base. So it's like, all right, what really happened there? You know what I mean? Like, is this the Romans again? Come on, man. Come on, Caesar. Come on, tell us the truth once, at least. But yeah, it's really cool because you don't have to be afraid of the natural world. It's just all symbols, what I found, and the symbols could be co-opted, just like a tool. A symbol is a tool, and it's a way better way to communicate because you get your own interpretation from it instead of a word which has all these different meanings. But what I see happens is a lot of these evil people take these symbols and use them in a corrupt, inverted way, so then other people will get scared of the symbols. And then it's like, no, you could be scared, but I would say, listen, look, it's a language. Let me tell you about it, because it's amazing. When I found it, it blew my mind. Like, I walk around the city now and I'm like, looking at buildings and just getting all these, I'm like, wow, they're speaking to us with this stuff. It's crazy. Or just even on like a Lay's potato chip thing, or the Pepsi symbol, or the Coke, or the Just Do It swish, there's these symbols that pull us unconsciously.
This is one of the symbols off of that I was using for one of my albums.
Yeah.
And it's got like the eyeball and the kind of like what they do on the money sign, and it's like, but I mean, if I do think I think people take the symbol thing too far. It's like, if like the eyeball, I think that represents the creation of us. We were made in God's image. So I don't see like that being a bad thing. And I mean, maybe somebody's tried to pervert it or whatever, but just a symbol. Like, that's why I think we will be judged on, whether we have a godly mindset or a reprobate mind, because I think it talks about in the Bible the renewing of our minds. And so therefore, I don't think if you got like, if you passed out at somebody's house and they wrote like 666 on your arm, I don't think you're going to hell for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I love that. I just want to say really quickly that I love that you're open-minded to this as a Christian. It's very refreshing to me, because not a lot of people, but people will see that I do tarot or I talk about the occult and they're like, isn't that evil? And I'm like, listen, and we could talk about this too, like manifestation. And our friend Joe that's in the chat, big shout out to the chat, by the way. We got a lot of legends in there right now. Nigel, Wigsplat, Philip, who I went all the way to Sedona with. Bane Bear's in there. He's a comedian. Contemplations of Spirit is Joe, who's been on the show before. Big shout out to Flo Cal at the Unbearables. He thanks us for the stream. He said he's been digging them lately, which is awesome. I love it, because anytime we could find someone to entertain, like I would do this for 3 people, but the more people, it's better because it makes it more worthwhile. So that's what Sharon and I talk about. We're like, there's ways to support us. You could send us money, but biggest way is just come in the chat and leave comments and let us know what you think. Big shout out to Ashley Knopp. I hope I'm saying that right. Zeralath was in here earlier. Slow-mo Moonbuggy, who is Zeralath and Slow-mo Moonbuggy are both in Connecticut. Big shout out to Connecticut peeps, because man, somebody was James was talking about how it was in New York with the covering your smiling face and not doing it during 2020 and 2021. And I had a similar experience in Connecticut. But like when I was in Florida, in South Carolina, and I would tell people that, they're like, it was really that bad. And I'm like, it was crazy. Like I felt like I was in a movie. It was like Night of the Living Dead. Like I walked into a restaurant on my birthday with my parents, and I walked in 2020, July 2nd, and I'm like, no masku for me. You know, I just walk in and I told them, like, don't worry, you don't have to do it. Listen. And they think this is all BS. They're not about like experimental medical serums. My parents are pretty great. So, but I get that people go along with it. But we walk in and they're behind me. And I was like, oh, you know, we need a table for 3. And they're like, something about a mask. And I'm like, oh, I have an exemption. They're like, all right. So then I turn around, my parents both have their masks on. And I felt like I was like in combat, and I rushed in and I turned around and my guys were shot. You know, I'm like, it's just me. You know, like it was so funny. But no, they're awesome though. I get it. You know, they just don't want to cause waves. I'm a giant who's been on stage for 7 years. You know, I was in the Marines. Like, I don't care about confrontation. I don't seek it. I don't like confrontation. Like some people, like Owen says he likes it. I'd rather not. But if I have to do it, you're going to get it. You know what I mean? Like, you made me do this. All right, I'm just going to shit on you. I'm going to like, well, I'm usually nice about it. But if people get rude, I look nice, but I'm like, I'll say something and they'll be like, oh, he said that thing about me that I hate that you know.
Well,
anyway.
the silent killers are the worst, man.
Yeah, I'm like goofy and fun. And then when it happens in DJing, it used to happen more when I couldn't really control my anger as much, but I'd be at a bar or a club and girl would come up to me and say something like rude about something. And, you know, it's not like I have, just to be fair, like everybody in the place is dancing. This one lady just comes up and is like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, fuck you, you cunt. Like, I was like, you fucking cunt. Like, and she's like, and just like ran away. I was brutal. I'm not like that anymore. But, you know, I wasn't afraid. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good point, man. I mean, like, what I get, I like that story. I watched the stream last night and with James, and I like that. I like that story, man. You was telling about being at the barbershop, and you said you know, well, doesn't God make everything perfect? And it's true, man. Like, people get so bogged down like with putting on their mask, and that's why we call them churchians, man. Like, I'm not gonna. Are we reading the same Bible that says like, don't be afraid? You know, don't be. I mean, and you're putting on a mask like an invisible person or an invisible virus is gonna, you know, wipe you out. It's like, what happened to like, don't be afraid? You know, I thought that's what you know, we're based as a Christian. That's what we're based around. You know, and you know, I do believe. You know, I think fear is one of the biggest things, like, you know, around the garden. You know, they were protected by God, and when they realized, they took, you know, they stepped out of the garden to eat from the knowledge, you know. So their knowledge of fear came into, they didn't have that, you know, when they were comforted by God. They didn't have fear, you know. So I think that's one of the very first things that gets people, is that's why they can kind of they can like snap your mindset to something different, because it's a fearful, you've got fear. So you're like, oh no, that's like crying wolf, you know, like, you know, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree, because it's like, the thing I was thinking about was, even in the beginning, they said that masks won't work, and the data was out that even if viruses were what they say they were, it was like a chain link fence trying to keep out mosquitoes. Like, and even the Surgeon General was like, oh, these are useless, you know? So that being out there, plus then they try to get virtue off it and stuff. You're just like, what are you doing? And then the people who said that, oh, Jesus wear a mask, it's like, oh yeah. I'm like, I don't think so. Like, I don't think we're thinking about the same Jesus here, lady. Like, yeah.
No, not at all.
The one that flipped the tables in the temple, the changers tables. Like, And I big shout out, by the way, to Bane Bear in the chat, because he said he bombed the other night, but sometimes bombing for me is hilarious. And it could be a learning experience, and he's going to hit some more mics this week. Keep doing it, dude. I think I'm going to start hitting some open mics again. I might even do one tomorrow. If not, I'm feeling the itch, and I've been writing a lot of stuff down, and I'm really excited because I found ways to say these words that you're not, like the V word, right? I found a way to just say it, but I'm going to trick people into because I'm going to talk about, I think I talked about this on the show. I'm like, words are spells and you feel something for it. You hear a word and you get a visceral reaction, and there's this word I'm not supposed to say. Look at me, different class stuff. So I'm trying to get them to think that I'm going to say the N word.
Yeah.
I don't, whatever. I don't mind saying it. I said it last night in the show, but then I'll say Vexu, but I'll say the real word. And I think it's going to blow people's minds. They're going to be like, oh, no, you're not, and then I'll be like, oh, we're not going to listen. We're next subject. Like if I said that N word, maybe I'd get in a fight. But if we keep talking about that V word, everyone's going to get into a fight here. Like let's talk about something different. How about another thing you're not supposed to talk about? Flat Earth. And then I want to go into realm Earth, because I'm like, aren't those people crazy? Just like those Globers, they're crazy too. Like, can't they see we live in a realm? Like, I don't know. I'll think of something, but because I feel like that's what's cutting edge right now, or that's what's taboo right now. But if I just say it that way, I could joke around. And I have another idea. I have a puppet that I might start using. It's a Moses puppet, but it just looks like a prophet.
I like that. Yeah.
Because I heard my friend say, when my friend Pat Oates, shout out to him on his show, he witnessed this guy here in Connecticut was a guy that did a puppet ventriloquist, really good ventriloquist, but he was dirty and he would like screw with people, and one time, Pat, my friend, said he was at a show with him and he saw a guy in the audience get so mad that he stood up. He was in the front row and I guess he was making fun of him. He stood up and he punched the puppet, like seriously, and like stormed out or something, instead of punching the comedian. I was like, oh, that's how it works, huh? So I can use this craziness in the air to my advantage, but
yeah, as a comedian, I think you're kind of telling a story too, and I can relate with that with as a songwriter and a musician, like I can really get into telling a story, and you can either tell a story with puppets, or you can guitar solo, or there's many ways to tell what to get your point across. And I like that. I think that's why the Bears are so drawn to Owen, because we all have that creative element to us, and we can all kind of relate in that way, because we're all kind of artists in that sense.
Yeah, well, I also like it because he draws people together that also aren't artists. They're artists in their own way. Like if they're a plumber, they do it as an art form. But it's so you get everyday people who we need in society to do things that are great and use their hands and all this stuff. And then you have a lot of artists in this community too, which is great. It makes for a really good combination, because we could entertain the people with music and jokes, and then they could work out in society, and then also support the art that they love, which people do anyway by going to movies, getting cable, all these things. They're supporting art or whatever, entertainment. But instead of, all the Bears don't watch TV and all this stuff as much, they take all that extra money and they give it to artists in their community, and that's how it keeps going. That's what they do with Owen, and I think there's a lot of room for other artists in this community to move up, whatever they are, because all these people are great. And like, I've gotten nothing but awesome support from the Bears, even though I talk about crazy stuff sometimes, like I was talking about Aleister Crowley, but again, I'm not putting the guy on a pedestal or in a pit. I'm just saying he might have been anti-Zionist. Isn't that interesting? But anyway, but they're still like, oh, he's just silly. It's fine. Cause a lot of them met me, I've met Camera Bear. I met Chris, who's Quiet Sparky Bear. I'm trying to think of some of the other guys that I've met. And then in person, it's just a whole different thing. Cause this online thing, you never know. But when they see I'm 6'5" and I have this voice and I'm making people laugh, they're like, oh, this guy's a good guy. It doesn't matter if he has a tarot deck or, who cares about that? We know he's a good guy and he's funny. So and he's a
Yeah.
giant.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
mean,
it's great.
and and the way I feel about, like what I was getting at, I feel like I can relate, like, because it says in the Bible, it says where two or more gather, and so it's like you kind of get more, you can kind of get a better conversation, like, like these, that's the problem with a lot of these like mega churches, you get a preacher that's just talking to people and there's people it's like, like a football stadium, and they don't, nobody really knows anybody, they're not like shaking hands afterwards, or, and like I like that our community, is so like I can holler at paraplegic, and he's like, dude, I can hook you up, with some coffee or something, or Rebel Joe,
Oh,
you
board
know.
game bear. Yeah. I'm going to
Yeah.
text paraplegic right here, just so you know, I'm not like being rude on my phone, but yeah, go ahead. Keep talking. I could pay attention, text him, but I'm going to get him in here. I'm going to see where the heck he is. I'm going to say, come slang some coffee. We got people in here. He'll come right in. It's funny. No, he's great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like him.
I love that dude. He's great. Shout out to Paraplegic Bear. Check out his coffee. It's very worth it. Instead of,
And
especially if you like good coffee. Like I used to spend a little more than I would spend with him for really good stuff, and he's got really good stuff. So why not just get it from him? He's roasting it himself. I know it's fresh. So yeah. But go ahead. Go ahead. That's just a
yeah,
commercial.
you'll have to get, you know, you'll have to do the blend between the Rebel Joe and paraplegic blend, because both of them guys are really cool. And I've actually done some music with Board Game Bear.
Oh,
Um,
do you
yeah,
talk to him often?
yeah. I've actually, if you get on my YouTube, we've got a song together that we did. It's called "The Second Wrath." And it's on my YouTube channel, Quinton Ferrell and the Awoken. So check that out.
I remember you telling me that. I have to check it out. I've been like crazy busy these past couple days, but tomorrow it's pretty loose. I'm excited finally, because when I do weddings, that whole day is pretty much shot. But like Sunday, I had my niece's birthday party to go through to, and then we recorded with Pat Life. Right, I got home and turned on Zoom, recorded with him, and then yesterday, not only did I record with James for like 3 hours, but I recorded during the day with my friend Davin, which is great. And then I've been listening to the Owens stream very intently because I sent him a letter, and he actually showed my drawing today, and he's like, I'll read the letter tomorrow. I'm like, you better. But
Yeah.
I'm excited about that because he's read a letter that I sent before, and it was really hilarious. So I can't wait. I put a joke in there, so it should be fun. But
That's
yeah,
cool.
no, I hear you, dude. 100%. It really just goes back to having an open mind and listening to, I guess you could say, your intuition. Some people call it the Holy Spirit, the voice of God. There's a voice that you feel. It's not a voice you'll hear in words. It's a feeling that you get when you're doing something right, or you're doing something you're not supposed to do.
Exactly.
And you can listen to it, or you could just ignore it by engaging in escapism, whatever it is, get hammered all the time, or you watch a lot of TV and it could drown it out, or say you're like whatever it is. I mean, you could be buying Corvettes.
Yeah. Well, you've got to be able to control it, and that's like, we're always, every day we're getting like little pulses, like of this coming at us and that coming at us. And, you decide what you're receptive to. It's like a TV, it's like you change the channel, you're channeling, a certain energy or a certain vibration. Um, so I mean, it's definitely, I believe in all of that, and I think it's good. It can be, it's just all how you make it, you interpret it. Like you were saying, with the hammer, you can break somebody's hand with it, or you can build a house.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason I brought up if you knew Board Game Bear too, because I know you'd done the song with him, but I wasn't sure the level, like if you talk to him, whatever, daily. But if anybody does, tell him to be on my show. Tell him that I want him on my show. I'd hit him up too, but like I said, I've just been busy. So sometimes I forget to do these things and I have all these ideas for guests. So someone hit him up or I will remember to do it. But yeah, I think he'd be a great guest. And you're a great guest, dude. This is amazing conversation. It's great to have a Christian on here and be able to have a very open discussion. And I'm not trying to be like condescending or whatever, but I just mean that sometimes I found that there's things that I've learned and found truth in. And like, I know Christians just like around me, not in the bear community, but around me, that if you talk about these things, like one of my mom's friends, like, oh, if you believe in Buddha, like Buddha's in hell right now, like he's burning in hell. And I'm like, you sure about that?
I think
not that I cared. I wasn't a Buddhist or anything, but I just was like, okay, I guess I can't talk about this thing in front of you. But yeah, no, it's great, dude. I love it.
Well, I think I really like some of Owen's streams about, like I really do. Like I've come around kind of to, because even Jesus said, all the things I do, you'll be able to do. It's like, so I'm saying, like, I think there might have been other prophets too. Like, and I think that maybe the gravel is that they use. There's so many, like, even in Christianity, they've taken it and like made it different denominations, and they've fragmented everything. Like, they've made you can't do this. If you do this, then you're doing, and it's like when you get really down to it, I think we've made more rules than God Like I think God originally was like, be fruitful and multiply, you like Owen says, except he didn't say, the second part.
yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
he implied it. No.
He implied it. Yeah. Well, there's, and there's a lot of things in the Bible that are implied, like what you was talking about. Like, I mean, people take it to an extreme, but like, I would always hear that because, I grew up around, people who drank and stuff. And, just because I'm a Christian doesn't mean I haven't seen, people act, in a different way, but like,
oh yeah,
my grandpa, he served in Vietnam, and he would always say, well, I can drink, Jesus turned the water into wine, and you kind of, you get people that kind of use that as an excuse to just get tore up, but I mean, there was a lot of implied things in the Bible, like, drinking wine, that meant like, to like everybody was comfortable in his presence. It made you feel like you were, buzzed on wine or whatever. Which I don't think there's I think as long as you're not, like you were saying, as long as your mind is clear and you can, you're not like just going around fighting people and, acting a fool,
yeah. Or because a lot of times people drink too much and they turn into another person, really. I'm sure you've seen that. So well, it's about you go out and have one or two or whatever once in a while, or every night, or you just fucking
Yeah, and I think there is a reason why they call alcohol spirits. I think there is. When you get pulled over, they call it under the influence. You're not yourself. You've allowed that to take over. But if you can like handle that and be like, I'm not going to allow this to overpower my ability to do what I have to do. I just want to relax for a little while. I don't see nothing wrong with, or somebody wants, if they're smoking a doobie or something, I don't see nothing wrong with that. But, you you've got to know yourself, going
Yeah.
into going into any of that,
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that it's like Austin was saying, that's who it was. He's like, at least I don't, he's like, I smoke weed now, but I don't do heroin anymore. It's like, yeah, that's, come on, man. Like, that's like
yeah,
a no-brainer. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, people have different levels. Like I think you were saying that too the other day. Like, if like people have different frequencies that they're on where they can, really relate. And then there's sometimes, people can't relate. And so I think we all have that in our mind, you're either in tune or you're disconnected. And, you can't, everybody's different, it's, we're not all one, it's like we're made individually, with different interests and different skills, and that's okay. That's actually what makes a society great, is to have different people with different skills, and the Bears. I mean, I've got people that, I call up for soap, I'm like, hey, I need some soap, get it to me, or I need guitar picks, or I need guitar strings, or, I got a guy for that, I know a guy, and that's really like the key to a successful community. It's like, I'm trying to, you're trying to figure out a skill, and like that you can help. So not only, not just to make money, but just to make somebody happy, or to provide a service for somebody, and that's pretty awesome. And the Bears are good at doing that. The legends.
Yeah, 100%. I had a friend make my walking stick for me that I have. I should keep that down here while I podcast, because it's this giant piece of twisted wood that naturally grew, and then he carved it out. It's really amazing. I'm thinking about like bringing it to Ukrainian Bear. He's not the one, but he does stuff, and maybe having burn some stuff into it or whatever, put some symbols on it. I think that'd be really cool. I'm actually going, shout out to Ukrainian Bear, driving up with him up north, Vermont or New Hampshire. There's a bear meetup. I'm terrible at all this, but we're going up together. It's going to be like a 4-hour ride this Sunday. So it'll be really interesting though. I can't wait to meet up with some bears and see who's there, and it should be a lot of fun. So, but yeah, what else was I going to say that I got? I get soap from bears. I get a lot of stuff from Grounded Extracts. I love his stuff. Like, I've gotten Christmas cards from Camera Bear's wife, like and everybody that I sent him to was like, wow, this is awesome. Like, what? I'm like, yeah, isn't this great? I'll think of it. Something popped in my head. Oh, well, you make beanies? That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Me and my grandma kind of just, it was just a way to bond with my grandma at first. And I was like, oh yeah, that'd be cool. Maybe some bears would like me to make some beanies, and, I'd have to have a little bit of money, to ship it to them, but yeah, I just kind of was like, yeah, that'd be cool. And I've got all kinds of different colors, camo. I've got camo kind, and girly kinds, and for kids, I can make some for little kids and whatever, But yeah, I between that and music, I enjoy always doing something, productive, and I don't like just twiddling my thumbs,
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I'm usually researching something, or like, yeah, writing or doing something. It's crazy. Sometimes I feel like I'm doing nothing because I'm researching, but I'm listening to stuff. But after all the mind gravy that I've consumed, and now I don't really try to get too much gravy unless it's really relevant. I'm more about putting stuff into action. But yeah, it's crazy. But do you have any beanies around you could show us?
Oh yeah, I got and I'll show you my CDs too, man. I've got some CDs.
Yeah. I want to see. I'm gonna order a beanie maybe. Beanie Baby. No, I'm interested in a beanie myself, so I want to see these things. I have a giant head. But yeah, so I'll do a quick commercial. You can check me out at morelawsmoreproblems.com. I have a blog there that I've had for almost 10 years now. Ooh, Paraplegic is in the chat. What's up, Paraplegic? You finally made it. I'm going to sell pogo sticks. I bet that you are. Ew. But how are you going to test them out? Hey, yeah, because you should test your product before you sell them.
Yeah,
Paraplegic said, "Oh, that's cool."
It's camo. This is the one I made for myself, but I can make any kind of colors.
What do you make it out of?
Just material, just sewing material. So I don't know.
Oh, nice.
my
I mean, like, are they acrylic or wool or cotton?
Yeah, yeah, 6-weight acrylic. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's got to be comfortable.
Yeah, man. I'll hook you up. Yeah, just message me. And also, I got this is my Awoken album. I did that like a year ago, and then this one is the most recent one. And I'm working on another album. I've actually got about 8 albums of music, but I'm working on another album called Memory Lane, and it's pretty heavy stuff, man. It's like, I mean, like I listen to a lot of like Alice in Chains and like a lot of the 90s grunge stuff. So I mean, even though my lyrics are a lot, more based around Christianity and stuff, but I've also got some stuff to where, songs that I wrote before, I will say this, I've always been a Christian, but for a long time when I was playing in bands, I was around a lot of, drinking and stuff like that. And, but it's like, I think I always felt like I don't want to isolate myself, from people just because, I don't want to make myself appear as like, because I feel like that's the way a lot of Christians look like. They put themselves like, "Oh, I'm better than you," and I don't want to. I never want to come across like that, Like I don't want to come across that, give off that vibe, because I feel like we're all kind of like searching to be better in general,
Yeah, 100%. In the chat, Joe, who's Contemplations of Spirit, says, I might have missed it. What genre do you play? Because Joe also creates music too. He's really good friends with Alex. He's really good friends with Olive Tree Bear. He actually went and visited him in Greece because he lives in Germany, but he's American. He was in the army. He was born in New York, grew up in Florida. And
is it Joe Gaggins? Is that Joe
Gaggins? No, different Joe. This is Joe P. He's been on our show before, but yeah, he's in Germany. But he wants to know what kind of genre you play. I know he said like grunge stuff, like Alice in Chains, but you said it's heavy though too, right? Heavier.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's real heavy. I guess it would. I can't sing. I can't sing like Lane Staley or nothing like that. But so I guess if I had to put like what I sound like, I try to sound like myself, to the best of my ability. But I guess my style would be, like a Black Label Society type deal, like Zakk Wylde, and I really like his style of guitar playing, and I do some piano stuff. I mean, I'm kind of, I kind of got a mix of a lot of stuff, but mainly heavy. I would consider it, metal, metal kind of, a little, little taste of, I've put out stuff that's kind of, Southern rock even,
Oh, so. Nice. I love Southern rock, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I always keep this thing around, in case I have an idea or something. It's like,
my song is Long Haired Country Boy by the same Devil on Town in Georgia, Charlie
Yeah,
Daniels.
Charlie Daniels. Yeah, yeah. I like Charlie Daniels.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's a good old boy. He likes his gravy and biscuits, you know.
I've actually, little known fact about me, I've had gravy and biscuits made from scratch by when I was in the Marines. I was dating this girl from North Carolina, but her grandmother lived in the hills of like the Tennessee, Kentucky, North Carolina border area. And
Yeah,
they were like, you're a freaking Yankee. Like they did not like, it was like they were calling a black person a spade, you know, they're like, you're a Yankee, you know, but they were really cool with me because I laughed about it and I was chill, you know, I didn't get all like offensive, whatever. So yeah, man, biscuits and gravy all the way. But yeah, for sure that long-haired country boy, because he's just like, a rich man goes to college, a poor man goes to work. It's like, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, a lot of people, it don't really matter where you're from, you know. I mean, people, you know, if you're middle class, you know, I mean, I think you can all everybody kind of relates together, you know, about what's, you know, we kind of, wherever you're from, it's kind of, you know, it's more or less the same. I mean, I do think in the South, you know, we're more passionate about our food, and you know, we we got a little, you know, I mean, we got to, you know, we do things a little slower and not like.
What you're talking about. Yeah, though up north, I hear what you're saying, but there are some people. Have you ever met Italians? They get real passionate about food. I love
Yeah.
picking on Italians. There's a lot of Italians around me in Connecticut, so but
I'm
it's cool
making a
because
meat.
you could
I'm
pick
making a
on them.
meatball. I'm making a meatball.
Oh, dude, it's like I know a guy. I know like that was the thing when we were growing up. Everybody knew a guy, and that meant like they knew somebody who's connected. You know, like they're gonna do something to you. You know, I know a guy.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, get out of here. Who's your guy? Like, let
Yeah.
me meet him. He'll think I'm hilarious. He will
Yeah.
not like you. I could tell because you're a piece of shit. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's still funny, and that's how I think I was able to get along with people, and like even in the South. But then also, I have a good friend. I don't talk to him as much once in a while, but he's a black Israelite, and he like wears the costume and he's into it. But he loves me. You know, like we've had conversations before. So yeah, I get along with everybody because it's like I don't know when they're on to truth. But people are talking about like the weather and stuff. I'm just like, ugh. Or the
Yeah.
Cowboys. I'm like, come on, the Cowboys. Really? Still, you're still
Yeah.
talking about the Giants? It's like, get out of here.
Yeah.
How about the mascoos everyone's wearing? Let's talk about that for a second. Isn't that crazy? No, you want to talk about the Giants? But yeah, no, it's cool.
Oh, are we talking? What kind of Giants are we talking about?
Oh, I was talking about like the New York Giants, but no, I'll talk about like vapor canopy giants and that stuff. Yeah, like
like
literal
Neph-
giants. Hell yeah.
like like Nephilim or something.
Yeah. I tell people that I'm descended. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm part Nephilim. I look at how because I'm like, I'm a dwarf giant. I'm not exactly a giant, like 7'6'8", 7 foot tall. I'm 6'5", so I'm like a dwarf giant, and I have, you know, I have the booming voice. You know, it's crazy, like the energy. It's really nuts. But I don't think it just has to do with giant people. I think it's that's just the way I identify it to people to make it funny. But I think that you can have that energy, and you can be anybody. When you have that energy, it's like it's people want it, you know, it's desirable. They're like, yeah, let's hang out with this guy. So it's cool. That's the other thing about the Bears. I found there's a lot of people like that in the Bears. You know, they have like magnetic personalities. There you go.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Have you met Bears around you?
Man, I wish. I mean, I've gotten on, you know, Barataria Times app, and I've met just a lot of people in general that I do a lot of bartering with. I actually met a guy in he's where is he from? Actually met a guy in Puerto Rico that I actually did some. Yeah, it was kind of cool. You know, that was the first time I had like bartered with somebody, you know, not in the States, you know. But I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, and you know, this, you know, kind of goes into a different, but like, would you want to get into talk about Saddaloons any?
Sure.
I was doing podcasts, back in 2020 or maybe 2021. Anyway, recently I did a podcast with a guy named Trey Clark. He's from Texas, and we did a podcast on Saddaloons and stuff like that. And but yeah, it's pretty wild. You look around and you never see satellites, and you never see them crash. I mean, there's supposedly all these satellites floating around, and you never see one crash or come down. You never see one take off. It's like it's just this weird thing that just supposedly, and I think it's more, like all the technology we get, like you when you're using your phone, if you go certain places, you still don't get a connection. You know what I mean? And if there was satellites everywhere, that wouldn't be possible. It's like, if you think about that.
Yeah, that's why. So what did you guys come up with about the Saddaloons? You think those are real?
Well, they're like, I mean, really got it. We got into it from actually I think Owen did a stream on Saddaloons too, like about how they they set them off, I think, like in Antarctica, and I think that's part of like the reason why people can't go there, like part of it. I think there's more. That's a whole nother rabbit hole there,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, and then I think the satellites are actually a distraction. Like, they want people focused on satellites, but I think the actual way we're getting like internet and all this stuff, we're getting for free now. And like, that tells me that's a grabble too. Like, but before, we always had to pay, for cable, and like, now we're just in a world where we can just get on and talk on YouTube for free. There's a reason for that. Like, and I think it's kind of a good thing, because you're not having to, I mean, but it's also a bad thing because, people still like, that's still kind of pushing, like going towards like the fiat currency, like people are not using the dollar. And I feel like it's kind of cool. It kind of makes the Bears elite in that sense, to where we're still using, we can still use dollars, and it's still, it's like, I don't know. It gets pretty deep. It's like, anyway, I got kind of off topic, but like underwater cables, I think there's something to that. Like, there's cables, I think, that they've got going under the ocean and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, for sure. They admit that stuff.
Yeah. So there might even be more, more to it than that. It's like they tell you a little bit, but I think they want you to think that there's thousands of satellites, and that's just like, how like supposedly they've got dish, like that they send to a certain satellite or something like that. Mm-hmm. But it's like, but then that would disprove a spinning ball too. Like, if you had to like track down a satellite while you're rotating it, 6,000 miles per hour, like they say, like, it just wouldn't. You would always be like we wouldn't be able to talk right now. That's how ridiculous that would be, because you would never get a connection if you were spinning that fast. And so,
Yeah.
like, their chaos world is shutting down because people are getting, like, people like us are getting on here, and we're talking about, truth. And when you start talking truth, it's like they get so mad because their spell is breaking. They're
Yeah.
like, it's falling apart.
Exactly. That's so funny. But I think they can't really stop it. They could just try to make it a soft controlled burn. My friend Zerlath in the chat says Elon Musk's anal beads in the sky, because he the other night saw what supposedly called Starlink. He saw the lights in the sky go by. Now, I think I could be wrong. I think those are just lights in the realm that you're going to see in the sky, because I think I saw something like that. And I was pretty convinced it's the luminary moving or something like that, or some kind of something with the sky clock. And I think they're just trying to cover for it, and then also like get notoriety out of it, because I feel like some of these people know other things about the sky clock that they're not telling us. Although I don't think anybody in this realm really knows what it is. I don't think there's people at the top that know what this realm is. I think we're all in this together. They just figured out a way to rise materialistically. But anyway, what do you think about the lights in the sky like that? Like they're supposed to be Starlink.
I mean, shoot, I really don't know anything about that. I just know that they're, as far as you mean like stars? Is that what you're talking about?
No, so Elon Musk has this thing called Starlink, and it was supposed to bring internet to people. And they say they're low Earth satellites that you're going to be able to see go by, and it's going to look like a light in the sky. And I've witnessed it. My friend Zerlath witnessed it recently. I guess there's like a string of lights. And so I think, though, that's the sky clock speaking or whatever. And they're just saying, oh, we have these low level satellites. They're trying to take credit for it and cover up what it is. Do you think that might be possible?
Yeah. I mean, I think we've been like, I almost feel like back in the moon landing times, like the fake moon landing, but like back then, it was easier to deceive people, but now they have to come up with another deception because their technology is kind of working against them. So what I'm saying is that might be just a scam, like the skylight. I really don't know much about it, but what I'm thinking is their agenda behind that is another distraction to it's kind of like they went from fake moon landing to now they've got to keep it going. So they need another distraction that will keep this thing going, because they can't shut it down. I mean, they've gone too far. We've got Facebook, and we've got, but technology is so advanced that they can't. They have to have in order to keep it going, they got to keep coming up with new things, and people are starting to see through it. And, I hope they do, because it's like, I was watching Owen's stream about, like Bitcoin and stuff like that, like where they can, if they own the currency and or if it's a privatized, like they can shut it down, or, it's like, if they're, that's why I think Baratoria Times app is so cool, because it gives you an alternative. Like if they don't if you post something on, Facebook or something, they can just pretty much shut you down if they don't like what you say. But I like how Baratoria Times is straightforward about, these are the, it's not like people are going to get tired of just being shut down. It's very, it's a very un-American way to be, to shut somebody down for speaking their mind, about anything. And so I think people just like normal people just want a good place they can go to create things, talk about things, that's important to them. And I think they won't shut it down because a lot of these, people like Joe Rogan, they won't shut it down completely. Like they want to try to shut down truthers, but they won't shut it down because that would interfere with their message and what they're trying to get through. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword, type deal.
Yeah. And I also believe that part of the truthers are helping them manifest the future that they want or they're aiming for, which I think it's totally going to flip. But I think that some people who are doing the fear porn and the truth without solutions and all that stuff, I think they're helping the people who are really smart in society and see it and could put things together. A lot of them fall into this like truther trap and they get caught in fear, and they're literally manifesting the future that these people want, by putting it into just putting it into the zeitgeist, into the society. People kind of know about certain things, so they just know it exists, so therefore they know it's possible. So I think if you get a bunch of people focused, that's how you can kind of manifest something in this realm. So I think that's why I like Owen, because he offers solutions and he says make internet friends real, and just go have fun, go to like the park for a day or go fishing. Yeah, it's much different. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, man. I mean, I totally want to meet up with some bears. Especially, I mean, just not even meeting them though, like just being able to communicate. I've done live chats with Flow Cow Bear, Grungy Blues Bear, you know, all these people, man. Just some people you've just never, like you and I, we've never met, but like we have a connection, man, and we can talk easily. And it's like it's a shame that there's a lot of people that live, right next to each other that can't have this kind of a connection. And it's like but you want to bring it into a reality, because that's where we're going to thrive. Like we're going to that's why I like, that all a part of what Barataria, it can be anywhere. It's just a good vision of where, it's a good way out of, talking about things that don't matter.
Yeah, I hear you. And people are asking, what state are you in? What state do you live in?
KY Jelly.
Yeah, that's right. I know you told me, but you were in South Carolina, you said, right before that, or no?
Yeah, I was born in Charleston, South Carolina, and but I moved pretty young to Kentucky, and that's pretty much been my Kentucky home, raised on a farm, and got all that stuff. I was, always as a kid, I was always out. I'd get off the school bus and, fire up my dirt bike and go, drive around and have a good time. And I think, I like the freedom of that, and so I guess that's a big reason why I didn't fall for a lot of stuff in school, because, I didn't, I feel bad for a lot of people who live in the city, and kind of have to go along to get along, and you kind of have, when you're if you're in a concrete jungle, you have less of that escape of, the concrete world. You can't go out, get in the dirt,
It's crazy. And it's like an inverted forest or like an inverted mountainscape or something, because I've been in New York City plenty of times and a bunch of cities around the world, actually. And then you get into the forest and it's just a much different feeling. You're in nature. And like Crow 777 says, there is no lie in nature. So you're looking at all this truth around you. And if you're paying attention, you can get a lot out of it. But yeah, being in a city is like, it's crazy. But then you always have to be like, kind of like head on a swivel, because even though New York City got pretty safe, I heard it's not that safe anymore. But I grew up in a time when it was like
thieves.
yeah,
Thieves.
exactly.
No, but yeah, I mean, well, I've grown up, around the bees, some bees, but there is a difference, man. There is, like Owen says, there's a difference between rural bees and city bees, and I actually get along with, a lot of rural, area bees.
There's a difference between city bees and city bees. Like I've met some that people are so cool, and then some people it's just like, oh shit, yeah, it's nuts, man. I've seen some things, but that's cool though. People are really resonating. Philip Wigsplat in the chat said that you sound like you're from where he is, but then he said he was born in Louisiana and lives in Alabama now, so similar accents.
Yeah, we, the South, we do have that strong, I talked with Rhino Bear, and he's got a real, like, I think, like, I don't know if he's like from Brooklyn, but he's got a strong, like New York accent. And then I was telling him, I'm like, dude, you've got a strong accent. And then somebody in the comments like, a Southern boy, telling a New Yorker that they have a strong accent, so I guess my accent is strong too, from where I'm from. But, I mean, you just hear people, it's like, America is just one big melting pot of everybody, so you get a little bit of, you kind of just like adapt, like I feel like if I stayed in New York long enough, I would probably eventually start talking like, a New Yorker or something. But
yeah, I started to develop a little bit of a Southern draw when I lived in North Carolina, just a little bit, but people up here would notice. But down there, they're still like, "Ah, you're a freaking Yankee." I'm like, I can't win.
yeah.
I liked it though. I've adopted the word y'all. I freaking love that word. It's so perfect.
Hey, y'all. Yeah.
I'm like, all right, y'all, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't really think about it though. I mean, you just, you don't think about, oh, you're not waking up like, oh, I'm going to sound Southern today. You just kind of, it's into your DNA, but yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Oh, Machine Bear is in the chat. He just said, "What's up, Hobbit?"
What's up, Machine Bear? Hope you're having a blessed week, man.
Awesome.
Hey, give me a second. I'm gonna go get me a little bit of H2O.
Yeah, that's fine. I could talk. I could talk forever. Yeah. So,
hey, what kind of tea was you drinking, man?
Chamomile tea.
Okay. I'll be back, man.
I was drinking the Gary and Terry stuff. No. Remember those days? Yeah. Well, when you got pipes like these, you got to protect them. You got to drink tea once in a while, especially when you're talking so much. But yeah, big shout out to things going on this channel. We've just had James from Grounded Extracts on last week. I had Woodshop Bear on, and I had awesome Austin. I always get that wrong, from the Velodrome. Really all great episodes. And then next week, I'm very excited to welcome Berserker Bear, aka Bushwhacking History in Buffalo, next Monday night. I think around 7 we're doing it. So excited to talk to him. He does such great stuff. And then next Tuesday, Joe, who's in the chat as Contemplations of Spirit, check his show out. He's going to return. Well, he's going to be on my show for the first time, but this week, which is Thursday, his episode with Sharon and I, he returned to the podcast and we recorded with him, and it was really good stuff. So this Thursday at 8:33, we're going to premiere that and be in the chat. And then Tuesday, he will be on my show. So we're getting Overdose of Joe, but I'm excited about it. And then, if you want to be on the show, let me know. If you're into this stuff, hit me up, man. I like having people on, having conversations like this. That's how Quinton got on, he just hit me up on the old Instagram. Was like, yo, let's do something. I was like, all right, let's do it. So yeah.
Yeah. And I really, I feel like I'm going to have to go listen to some Devil Went Down to Georgia again. I love that.
Oh yeah, it's such a great message because it's like they're not taking the ticket, but they know that, like, he knew he was the best because he had faith in himself, and Johnny probably had faith in God as well, that he gave him this gift and he could easily defeat the devil. So he's like, sure, dude, I know, told you once, you old son of a bitch, I'm the best it's ever been. Yeah, I love
that. So what kind of music are you into, man?
I'm into all kinds of different music, but at this moment I'm into stuff like, have you ever heard of Dead South?
I don't think so.
Oh man.
Are they heavy?
Go ahead. No, it's like, it's just newer, like, country music, but they use fiddles and bass and stuff like that. But I mean, I used to be, and I'll still listen to, like, Pantera. Like, I've seen Pantera live in New York City when it was still Pantera.
Yeah.
I've seen Sepultura live. I've seen White Zombie a couple times, like Anthrax, Megadeth. Yeah, so I'm into a lot of that stuff too. I always liked Primus, but I never got to see him. Like, Jury Was a Race Car Driver is one of my all-time. It's just something about that song because it's silly, but it's heavy, It's like, yeah.
I mean, you can't hardly beat his bass playing, man. That blam 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 blam, that's cool. It's kind of quirky too, it's kind of like, it's metal, but it's got a sense of humor, and I like that too.
Yeah, and his voice is just funny too, like, or like Tommy the Cat. Oh man.
Yeah.
I also like Tool. I think Tool's really good. Trying to think who else. But yeah, there's tons of stuff. So stuff like that I'll listen to. And then I'll listen to, like, old school hip hop when it was really good, like Wu-Tang Clan and stuff like that. And then I also like classical music. Just depends what I'm into. Sometimes I'll listen to Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
Over and over again, like that song, the song about the end of the world. What's the song? I can't, when the man comes around. So that song I felt like was the anthem for 2020. Like in 2020,
Yeah.
I probably played that song on, YouTube or was more than anybody else. I just kept listening because I'm like, it's perfect, but I changed the words. I'm like, because they're like, multitudes are marching to the big kettle drum. So I'm like, multitudes are LARPing to the big kettle drum.
Yeah. Hey man, if you ever cut a little bit of your hair, man, you can donate some to me.
That would be hilarious. We should do that as a gag. Find a wig and cut it and say that I sent you some hair and just put it on your head.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, I really liked Ronnie James Dio, and he really was, them guys were into some wild stuff, with Black Sabbath and all that stuff.
Oh,
but
yeah,
I was watching this thing about him, like he was talking about a big reason why he quit Black Sabbath was because they were doing, spells and stuff like that, and they were really getting into like black magic and stuff like that. And he was like, he walked around. He said there was the demon Baal.
Oh,
He said it pretty much possessed their mansion where they were writing songs. And he said at one time, his wife was like, thought he pushed her down the stairs, and he was like, "No, that wasn't me. Why would I do that?" And but yeah, they were getting into, like, he said, like, he would always practice like white magic, but he said when they were getting into black magic, that's when he was like, all right, I'm done with Sabbath, So all them guys, man, they were into some stuff like, crap.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like especially like Zeppelin, they were all about that stuff.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing that Joe talked about on our show. It's like you can use the power of manifestation of this realm if you figure out how it works. In a lot of ways, you can like read occulted stuff and all this stuff and go down different paths to learn how it works. But once you learn how it works, and I heard it put in a way by this guy, Ram Dass. He used to be a Harvard professor in the 50s in psychology, way up at the top. And then he discovered acid and then eventually got kicked out of Harvard. And so anyway, he has this thing that he says that's like, and did I just derail myself? No, I don't think I did. I think I might have.
You did what?
I think I derailed myself. Man, I hate when I do that. It's funny. So I was talking about this at Rodney Norman the other day. Sometimes people with this imagination, they'll just like create this world in their head when they're talking, and they take a right and a left and a right, and then they get lost.
Oh yeah, I've done that.
I remember
too.
what I was talking about. See, that's why I always do that. So Joe was talking about power manifestation. So we'll get back to that. So he said that you can use it to create things in your life, but it's better to just leave that power alone and use it to like just gain higher consciousness, a better understanding. Because when you attain a better understanding, then you could start to manifest what might be for your path or whatever it is. And I think that some people, they're just not ready for it. It's like when someone takes an acid trip or a mushroom trip and they just freak out. Or another way to put it, which I wrote recently, I'm writing a book, Go Me. And I said that it's like when you'd see the movie with the genie with the 3 wishes, or really like the Looney Tunes episode. And they, Daffy Duck would, and he'd be like, I want all the rich or whatever. And it would just always end up screwing him over, I think that's what happens to people who have a lower consciousness and they try to manifest, and it just keeps smacking them in the face. So, and you could see that with rock stars, especially because their careers are all over the place, and a lot of times they get into drugs and stuff. So, yeah. It's
kind of like, people get well, I mean, being a rock star now is not what it was back then. It's like, they were very, I mean, people, it was very, to be a rock star back then was very much like how we are as Bears. We have a close knit fan base. Like it's not about like, it was more like they build up a name over time, and it wasn't like the problem with music today. A lot of artists today is they think they can be a household name overnight, and it's just not how it works. I mean, you have to pay your dues. You have to go out and actually meet people, and people have to relate with you. And it's a lot. I mean, that's how it was, like Zeppelin, they were always playing arena shows, they were playing, I mean, and that's what that's why that's why you'll remember them today. And well, that's why people will remember them for a long time, is because they did the work, but I get what you're saying. Like, it's kind of like, be careful what you wish for type thing. Like, to be a rock star, it looks fine and dandy, but like to actually have to put in the work. And, you probably got some graveler that you've got a contract with, that you've got to, live up to these commitments that you make, or else they're going to have you in court or something. There's a laundry list, that goes on behind what we just see. Like we just see people screaming and treating them like, they're gods or something, but there's more to it. They're people, they're really just people, they're just trying to, they're just trying to, make their house payment just like anybody else,
Yeah, exactly. I actually got to hang out with Tommy Lee from Motley Crue I got to drive him around because we were having him at a club that I was working at. So I picked him up from the airport and drove with him for like an hour, and he had his manager with him and a friend that he brought. And it's so crazy because everywhere we went, he would just create a mob of people, and I'm just chill. So I was like trying to be like, I'm going to be Mr. Cool Guy and not even, fan out at all. But I was like, I told him, I'm like, oh, I'm a big fan. I think you're great. I told him all that, but I didn't ask him questions and constantly talk to him and all this stuff. So it was really though insane. And I just thought to myself, like, is this the life that you really want? Like, it depends if you're trying to satisfy a lot of materialistic desires, maybe, but if you get to a certain point, because he seemed like he was over it, like he was trying to, he'd been clean and sober for like 6 months, so he was just trying to get his life back together. And yeah, it's crazy, man. But people saw him
Yeah,
and they
yeah. I
lost their
mean,
mind. Like you said, like he was a god. People were like, it's Tommy Lee. I'm like, it's just the dude. Like,
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like I don't, that's why I like making my music for me, and if somebody appreciates that and it does something to them, that's fine. But I'm not like I can still go to the grocery store and like nobody's messing with me. So like I like that, and I think, but like, yeah, I mean, it is a different, it's cool, like, and they don't, a lot of stars don't appreciate, they don't want, you to treat them like they're that. They don't want them to treat, they don't want you to treat them like they're a god or anything. Like they just want to hang out. Like I hung out, I went to Nashville for a little while and I hung out with Leonard Skinner's keyboard player or piano
oh,
player. Yeah, well, it's not the original guy, but the guy who replaced him when he passed. But yeah,
yeah, I was
and
gonna say that'd be crazy. Was he a zombie? No, I'm just
yeah,
kidding.
yeah. He was a really cool guy, and we just he was doing his thing, and I was like, oh man, it's so cool to meet you, and you're the piano player for Leonard Skinner, and you're here in the studio, that's cool. And then we went our separate ways, and I ate some food, and it was all good. but like and yeah, and oh yeah, Tommy Lee. I mean, I'm not got to meet him, but
Oh
I did
wow.
see he no, I said I haven't
You
got
didn't. Okay.
I haven't met him, but I did see he did play a show in Corbin, Kentucky that I went to, and yeah, I mean it is pretty wild, man. I just you know Tommy Lee's I kind of relate with him because I started drumming, at a young age, and he wasn't even, he wasn't even ready for success. He got famous like he was like 19 years old, like
Wow.
going to, like going to LA, and when you're 19 years old and probably having a fake ID to play, the bars or whatever. I'm sure.
Yeah, dude. I think that's exactly because I think back to when I was 19. If that happened to me, it'd be crazy. That's
Yeah,
why it's like
well,
be careful what you wish for too.
yeah, yeah, man, and like I think that's the reason why I think I had to go through that because I was kind of like that when I was playing bars and stuff. Like I was, pretty much it wasn't because I was nervous or anything, but I would always to get a good feel of like playing the drums. I did like I did drink pretty heavily for a while. Like I would have like I would at least have like at least about 5 or 6 beers before I got it, before I got in my zone. But like a lot of rock stars have to do that. Like like John Bonham, that he died from choking on his own vomit after in his sleep, because he had been drinking so much. But like a lot of rock stars, they have to have something to stimulate them to get them through because they're expected to be on a certain level all the time. And like you look at people like even comedians like the what's that guy's name, the Blues Brother guy that was he like
Oh, Jim Belushi.
yeah like
Yep.
people like
Mitch
that they have
Hedberg. Look at Mitch Hedberg.
yeah yeah they have to take these substances because they feel like they have to be on this level all the time. They can't just be a normal person. they have to have like, this charisma about them and like, what people are, the thing that people get attracted to them about can be kind of the thing that, sabotages them a bit.
Oh yeah, for sure, dude. 100%. Let's see. We got some people in the chat that are telling me to go to Flattoberfest and call in sick. Well, unfortunately, I can't call in sick because I'm a wedding DJ, so I ruined somebody's whole day. That'd be funny though. Like, sorry, I got the Karunu. I was supposed to go to a bear fest or not a bear fest, a bear meetup last year, and one of the DJs finally took the experimental medical serum. Like, my company didn't care at all. Like, the guy who owns it is, he's totally against it. But one of the DJs, his girlfriend, fiance, whatever, was giving him a hard time, and he never got sick. So then he took the experimental medical serum and he got the sickest he's ever been in his life that week. And he had the test, that goes, so he couldn't DJ. And I was the only one that my friend, who's the owner of the company, he called every DJ he knows, and I was the only one. So I ended up not going to that. But because I went to this wedding, it was insane. Like, it was a really great wedding. They gave me a giant tip. My boss paid me more. So it was like crazy how it's affected by people and their decisions and getting sick and and the guy was really mad too. He was pissed that he got sick and that he had to miss out on all this money because he's more about that. Whereas I would have, if there was somebody else to do it, even if I knew I was going to make all that money, I'd let someone else do it and go to the bear meetup. But since it was like I don't want these people without a DJ on their wedding day. So yeah, it's interesting how this stuff works out, and we're calling in sick. But yeah, no, so I can't call in sick and go to Flattoberfest, but I'd love to. Zerolast says metalheads can get away with all the shit they always have. Yeah, pretty much. Totally.
Yeah, I mean, but it's yeah. What was I going to say? I'm doing what you was doing earlier. I was thinking one way, and then I was like,
yeah. The key is to stop trying to think about it, and then it just pops up for me anyway. That's why I always go on a silly tangent.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of times, like I'll be sometimes, dude, it's weird. Like, sometimes I'll be thinking, like, I'll be asleep and thinking about something, and as soon as I wake up, I'm like, dude, I've got to write that down, because like, dude, some of my best, some of, like, whether it be a song idea or just like, like I was, some of the ideas I was wanting to talk about with you on here, I was like, oh yeah, that would be a good idea to talk about, so I'll just take a little note, of what I was thinking about, but like, I'm always doing stuff like that, just trying to, I got a lot, like, I don't try to leave everything from memory, you try to, if you write things down, it sparks a whole laundry list of ideas to talk about, or, to go on,
Yeah, I do that with comedy. Whenever I get an idea for comedy, I put it in a little folder I have on my phone.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's just a smart move. I mean, it's just, like, I mean, cause with everything that, we have to think about on an everyday basis, it's good to just take a pen, write it on paper, and then you're like, oh, there it is. Whoop, there it is.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's because people don't realize comedy and even music and all this stuff, it's a craft that you have to hone. Not everyone's born like Mozart. Sometimes they are, but I think that when you hone it and you work on it and you write ideas down, then you go back and rewrite them. That's what we do with comedy. You go to open mics with these jokes, and you do them over and over, and you tweak them and you change words, and then you find out the recipe that works. And yeah, it's a really fun process.
Oh yeah. Yeah, man. And like, and I mean, some of it, like, I started off playing drums. And so, like, I pretty much, you know pretty much the ins and outs of drums, like the timing and, you know, and it's kind of like that with comedy. You've got to you kind of start getting an act for the timing of what's, you get a feel for you getting the what I think Owen called like a flow state, like a, like where you can't be stopped. You just keep going. You get that momentum built up, and you're like just on a roll. You get fired up, and like you can do that with with music, and like when you get really good, it's like you can turn that on and cut it off. Like, that's the key, is to know how to when to turn it on, when to cut it off. And it's I really like that one guy you had on. Because I watched some of his stand up too.
Oh, Rodney Norman. Yeah.
Yeah, he's great, man. I like it.
Yeah. I have the pleasure of knowing him in person and watching him perform live a bunch of times. He always made me laugh. Like we'd be like just picture a small bar. You walk in, there's like a floor here, and then there's 2 steps up to a really small bar, and it might be like 20 by 20, well, maybe 25 by 20, whatever. And there's like some tight booths, and we're just in there. It's like this dive bar, and there's people up at the bar, and so they're up above us kind of listening, and just the comedians down there, and he's just like killing it. Like everybody in the bar stopped what they're doing, they're just like listening. Yeah, it's crazy. But what I was gonna say too, though, was what you described about just like getting on a roll. That's how I am with my writing. I have it, and I feel like I have to get it out, especially when I used to write originally. I was like upset or frustrated with what I saw going out in the exterior world, and I was like, this is what I think, and I was writing about it. And but it really helped me. It was really healing, because it was a way I could express myself, and it's artistically, I guess, because it's writing, right? And get it out and put it out there for people, instead of just like trying to yell at people, on Facebook or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, it's healthy. It's a healthy way of, if you're, because I think a lot of that, like what we're talking about right now, it really does free people, like, to know that they're not alone in thinking a certain way. Or, it's like, I feel like, if you do really, if you say you're a flat earther or something, and you get a certain, you're around certain people, and you kind of get excluded. Honestly, I mean, I had a lot of good, a lot of people that around me that were bandmates, and really good friends. And a lot of them kind of shunned me, man, because of the way I viewed something. And I was like, all right, man. Well, if you're going to be that way, I didn't really need to be your friend anyway. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like, you get people like that, and then you get people that you've never met before, but they just are so cool, and like you just have a connection with.
Yeah, it
So
really is amazing.
yeah. I
I
mean,
had like a different experience, kind of, because the people around me were they were more like Trump supporters, kind of, and stuff. And there a lot of them were either DJs or whatever, so they're not the typical kind of Trump supporter. They kind of see how things work. When you're a DJ long enough in a bar or a club, and you realize how energy works and how you can get the whole room to do whatever you want, like, then you see everyone doing something, you're kind of like, wait a minute, not all DJs see it. I see that too, DJ masks. But anyway, I've been very lucky with that, because I always just hit them from that side, how like Trunk is, responsible for 9/11 allegedly or whatever, and they're just like, what? And they just think I'm funny anyway, so they'll listen, but they'll just be like, I don't know, I got to get back to work. But yeah, it's fun. But I can't imagine that. I would be like, my friend Joe, shout out to Joe Savino. He went to move with a band in 2019 to LA from Connecticut. And I met him at a Mark Passio event when he was on his way in Philadelphia. I went down there, and once this whole experimental medical serum rolled out, they basically gave him an ultimatum that he had to move because he wouldn't partake. So he just came back to Connecticut.
That's crazy, man. It's just like, well, I mean, they're doing that. They're doing it. I think the big thing, like, I think Owen hit the nail on the head, man. I think they're trying to flush out the dollar and like bring in this other system that they can control, because they know in America that, you know, if you have a physical currency that you can just like, people can you know, barter and trade and do that kind of thing, you know, they know that we can, that they know that we will thrive. So it's kind of like they don't want that. They want government control to be, they want us to say, hey, please help us. You know what I mean? They want that from us, but they don't want us
exactly.
to be so, yeah.
I think Venmo is so easy. All these things are so easy for a reason, because they're going to want to make the flip on you and be like, oh, it's just like that. You know, it's crypto. But I think cash is still going to be around and still going to be used by people. You know, I really feel like, I don't think the dollar is going to go anywhere. It just might fall out of ill repute. You might look like an old lady we used to see paying with change at the grocery store. We might look like that, but I think it's still going to be around. But who knows? You know, anything can happen, but I'm not worried about it. You know, what are you going to do?
Well, I mean,
go ahead,
I just don't see like, you know, unless they make, you know how much hard, you know how hard it would be to create a new currency. And I don't see how Bitcoin can be used in the physical, like going to get gas with, you know, they'd have to make up new Bitcoin coins, you know. But, you know, what I'm thinking is, like Owen was saying, I think they'll probably like put a chip in people and like be like, and then it'll like, they can, like, if they don't agree with what you said that day, they'll have like a voice activation in your arm or something like that. And then if they didn't like what you say that day, they like shut down your account or something, and you can't buy it. You can't buy bread.
Yeah, I know exactly, or you won't be able. But I think people, it's going to be a choice if you want that. And it's going to be through convenience, and people are going to be begging for it. But I think if you don't go along with it, there's going to be enough people, I think, that don't, where they're still going to want their money at the end of the day. So they'll provide a way for those people to pay still. And I think it also has to do with like the rules of this realm. I don't think they could just fully do that to us without our consent. You know, I think they get off on when it's consent based, or it has to be consent based, depending how this works. Because to get really crazy, let's go down the gravy hole. I feel like they have to control people's consciousnesses to a point where they make them believe what's going on, because then that conscious will actually create the reality that these people want. And if they start to piss them off too much, it doesn't work, I don't think. So I think when it's like the movie Monsters, when they figured out they could make the kids laugh, they got more energy out of them. I think they figured out if they get consent, they get more energy out of it. So I really feel like it'll still be that way, but we're just going to be looked at like, you know, it's going to, every interaction is going to take like 0.2 seconds. Whereas when you pay with cash, it'll take like a minute and people will get like frustrated or whatever. But I don't think it's going to go away totally though, you know?
Oh no. Yeah. And while other people are scrambling, trying to figure it out, you know, that's why the Bears are going to crush, you know, while they're trying to figure out whatever system they're trying to do.
Exactly.
We're moving onward, man. Onward to Bears.
Exactly. Do not rely. That's what was really the very important message. Yeah, people are agreeing with us in the chat too. It's pretty cool.
Well, they better. No, I'm just kidding. They better agree.
How dare you not agree with what we saying? No, I was thinking that it was out there, but people are like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Right. Well, if you don't agree, then get out of here. Get. We don't like you around these parts anyhow. Just kidding.
Sharon kicked somebody out of the chat yesterday. She doesn't care at all, man. Sharon's awesome. She's like,
I
none of this, no nonsense. We're all having a good time. We don't need, there's enough of that if you want to go elsewhere. But yeah.
Yeah, and I love that, man. It keeps the community strong. Like it keeps, it like buckling down and saying that's why, I do like Owen's stance on that. Like he's not really for free speech. I mean, people shouldn't be able to say just whatever they want. They shouldn't be able to say like, well, I mean, they shouldn't be able to say like harmful things. Like that should be punishable, and it used to be. Under like if you made a threat to somebody or something like that, you should be held accountable. And dude, a wild thing that I was looking at the other day, and I was like, dude, that's so disgraceful, man. I got on YouTube the other day, and I was like looking around, and it said like somebody had died, and like I looked it up, and they were still alive, and I was like, dude, why would somebody put somebody died and then them not be dead? You know what I mean? It's like that's messed up.
It wasn't Coolio, was it?
It might have been. I don't know. Did he die?
Yeah, I think Coolio did die. I posted a picture because I always meet famous people wherever I go. It's crazy, but I met Coolio at a casino in Las Vegas. I think he was there paid to like hang out with people anyway and walk around and be Coolio, but it was still cool to meet him and get a picture with him. So I posted it and I got all these likes on Instagram. I'm like, you guys like this, but you don't like my fabulous show? How dare you? No.
They just ain't been spending most of their lives living in a gangster's paradise.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like some Coolio, man.
Yeah, he was a cool guy too. He seemed really like a nice guy, because I've met other famous people and they're like dicks. It's like, come on, listen, Kanye, you think that's what I said the other night. I'm like, Kanye manifested himself to be a great rapper because he convinced himself he was great. I'm like, he still hasn't convinced me yet, but he convinced everyone else.
Kanye, more like Kanye.
Exactly. But he does intrigue me sometimes with his point of views. He's funny, but yeah, his music, I mean, he's got a couple good songs, but it's like he's not the Wu-Tang Clan. People forget like anyway, we can rant all day about music, but
Wu-Tang, I've heard they ain't nothing to mess with.
Yeah, that's exactly. I heard that messing with them is very hazardous to your health. I heard that they'll take your balls and smash them on a dresser with a spiked bat or something. Where the fuck they
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. I'll sew the asshole together and keep feeding you. It's like, all right, that's a little. All right, Method Man. I've met Method Man in New York City he was just chilling outside his hotel room, and I was walking by my friend, and I was like, that's Method Man. I went over, got a quick picture, and then a crowd ensued, and he went back inside. It was cool.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It's like kind of like doing her own thing, man. Like not being like, I feel like the whole like most of these celebrities are taking the jab anyway, and probably won't be around much longer. It's like, but like, I think with this reset, it's going to benefit us, man. We're like Owen said, we're going to create our own rock stars. We're going to create our own music. We're going to create our own comedy. We're going to trailblaze and be the new, people who are valued, for all of the stuff that our hard work and all those things are going to pay off, and if, being a good person and, speaking the truth, and that stuff goes beyond whatever's popular or trending or, people being real and truthful. I mean, that word of mouth, man, that goes that's such a like that was what I think America was built on, like a handshake and farmers and making you know trust, being truthful. If you get a reputation for lying, nobody's going to trust you. It's like, and it doesn't benefit you, and it doesn't benefit the people you're dealing with.
Yeah, and I think also the potential is there for people who are bears to expand outside the bear community. And a good example would be Woodshop Bear. If he gets his book published, he's going to get this message out to who knows how many people. And they don't all have to be bears. They could just be, like I was saying before, on that line of division, where it's like, are you living in life according to natural law, all that stuff. So people are going to get that, according to God's rule, the golden rule. That's what I was looking for. And I think that people that make music in this community, comedy, all this stuff, if we could kind of let go of the bear label when we're interacting with the public and not be snobby and just make it for bears, which I don't see anyone doing, but I'm just saying, I think that we have the potential to be the next entertainment of this realm too. Like the people who want real truth are going to come to do our stuff. So it'll even be bigger than the bear community, which is great, because then all these people are going to feel this truth and positive message. I think it'll be awesome. But again, nothing against the bear community. I think it's a great foundation, but I think there's, just like Woodshop Bear with his book, I think there's potential to go big time if you want to try to reach people with your message, especially with music. You never know with music, man, especially these days, something catches on YouTube or whatever.
Yeah, exactly,
hide
man.
a message in music and comedy. Look at Rodney Norman, how he hides that message in his comedy, with this silly character that he has. It's freaking brilliant.
It is. Yeah. And there's something to it, man. If you're doing it for good and not being like I think that really does benefit a community to but it's got to come from a place of truth, and it can't be like you can't be like Joe Rogan and just going on there to sell boner pills and deceive people. If you're not leading people astray, that's why I like I like Owen, man, because he really does. He's like, we're not, we're gonna have a good time, we're gonna talk gravy, but no bullshit. We don't want bullshit in our community, and we don't want people put we have a standard, is what I'm trying to say, I guess. You have to have a standard.
Oh, yeah.
You have to stand for what you believe,
Totally. And that's why I like Owen too, because he is really the bard for people like us. And, we can watch him and be entertained. And then some people could take the message he's doing and even distill it down and hide it really good in some music or something, or art or comedy. And then it could reach people that Owen wouldn't typically reach because of the way the system is set up, So I think that's great, because a lot of stuff, and I'm not saying to like steal his jokes or whatever, but just the truth that he does and the truth that you're in when you're listening to it and the point of view and all that stuff. Yeah, I think it's great. But yeah, Owen is, dude, he's just hilarious. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know. I mean, sometimes he says things, and that's the thing he said. He's like, why do you got to say that I like Owen? I don't agree with everything he says, but I like him. He's like, can't you just say that I like him? So I'm just going to say that I like him.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, there's people that aren't, that's why I like, talking to people, like with different, like, somebody might hear me talk and not be a Christian. That's okay. I'm not saying that you have to, you don't have to believe everything I believe, but like, if you can have a common ground, like just be able to laugh, and that's something. So I think if you can't just laugh about something and relate with somebody, you're doing yourself a real disservice, because it's just so, laughter is healing. I mean, there is, when you laugh, I think like what you was talking about, man, I think they wanted to take laughter out of the Bible, you know, and I really do. I really do think that's true, man, because there's something about getting a good laugh in life that just like it just it like if you get so if you take things so serious, you know, you become kind of a grappler, man. Like your body starts kind of, you get tensed up, you know, and you're like taking things so seriously. And sometimes, you know, people just need a good laugh, man. And that really does it really is like laughter is the best medicine. You know, I do believe that.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Even if you look at a pack of playing cards, right, they're kind of a representation of the tarot, except they took all the major arcana out. But what's the one card in there? The Joker. They left the Fool, the Joker. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you're supposed to get it. And the fact that it's not in religion at all, like you're not supposed to be funny. It's all serious. That's just to me.
I think the Joker was the good guy in Batman.
Yeah, he was pointing out the truth. Also,
Yeah.
like the League of Shadows, they were definitely like a force of nature, you know, that Batman's trying to stop. It's like, I don't know, dude, because you know what? If the League of Shadows doesn't come in and do it, it's going to happen anyway. I'm not saying I agree with them, but that's their point of view. It's going to
That
happen
goes
anyway. We're just speeding it up.
well, yeah, and dude, that I think I agree. You know, I think this is like a good point to make. Like, I feel like, you know, like I feel like, you know, God created everything in this realm. He even created the bad. You know, he created Lucifer. You know, and I almost feel like I know I was talking to you about like free will. You know, but like I even think that like I don't think angels even have free will. So I almost feel like God created Lucifer for a certain reason. Like, you know, I feel like if you're not going to put your trust in him, then we're going to give you an alternative. And then we're going to allow you to do whatever you want to do what thou wilt, you know, and see where that gets you. And I think that's where a lot of people are going. You know, they're doing what they want to do, and they're not really knowing what the consequences are going to be. But, you know, that's why it says, you know, even in the Bible, you know, there will be a strong deception. And those people that lack the knowledge of understanding I don't like understanding. I like to say comprehending. I don't like because that's a grabble in itself, understanding.
Yeah, comprehending. I like that. I think I'm going to use that
Yeah.
in my book. I'm going to go back and change all the understandings to comprehendings. Thank you.
Well,
Because
you're welcome.
people say understanding, but that just, not that I have a problem with it. I get what they're saying, but it's not a real word.
Yeah.
And it feels like silly to me, but I love when people say it because I know they get it, but I'm a weird word guy. So yeah, I like that comprehending.
Well, the meaning behind it, man, is like there's actually like you're saying you're like the way we say understanding, we get it like I'm comprehending it, what it means. But the way the upside down use it, they see understanding as you stand under them. They rule you. That's the way. That's so like I like to use comprehending because it gives you a level. It like it's a better way of saying it. It's less grabbled word magic. You know.
Yeah, 100%. Anytime I could do that when I'm writing, I'm on board.
Yeah, man, and you know. You know, words can have different meanings, and that's why you got to be clear about what you're saying. And I work on it too myself. I mean, I'm not immune to it. You know, I've we all have things we work on. You know, and being comfortable with that, I think that's a good thing. I think when you can see that in yourself and call yourself on your own bullshit, you know, I think that's a huge step in the right direction. You know.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that people like to think there's like that the devil's evil because they want to blame all their sins, which James is saying how sin just means what was he saying? James, you in the chat? I think it was like inconsistency or something like that, or a disorder. It meant like a disorder. So it
Yeah.
was like things weren't in order. It was a different concept. But still, people, they want to go do the stuff they know they're not supposed to, and they could kind of blame the devil, and then they can also just say that Jesus saved them, so then they could go do whatever they want. It's like, I don't know if that's how that works.
No, it doesn't. And they're using it, that's why the scapegoat, the goat, is the symbol of Satanism, which I mean, but it's almost like if you blame the devil, you're almost treating him as your God. It's kind of backwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're saying this guy's the reason I'm doing bad things, you're worse. You're saying you're basically saying that it's okay because he's allowing you to do that. It's like instead of saying I'm wrong for even listening to these whispers of bad things, instead of like saying my God is bigger than that, you're saying that Satan is a bigger influence over your life than God is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What master are you serving?
Yeah. So basically, basically quit watching the pornos.
Yeah. Exactly. I almost said that before. Good thing you brought it up. No, it's so true. But Grounded Extract says dysfunction. So sin meant a dysfunction. So it was less about judging people and more about getting to function instead of dysfunction in yourself and your own life. And yeah, but it's cool because there's a bunch of us that get it. So I think and that message is really starting to get stronger. I think Owen is in the bear community. He's kind of burning off the dead wood as it goes with all this, because his viewpoint, I think, it lines up exactly with ours on this stuff as far as how you should treat people and stuff like that, and I think he's a realm earther. So I did ask him in the letter if he wanted to be on the Oversharing show. So if he comes on the Oversharing show, I'm going to spill some realm earth gravy, some of my ideas. I'm like, not making claims, but I'm excited because I think he would find it interesting, especially the whole materialistic thing where globe earth, flat earth, simulation, it's all materialistic things. So you could easily just eviscerate somebody, or it that it's more true. But anyway.
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude. Yeah. I totally man, I'd love to see Owen on your show, man. I'm grateful, man, that you let me come on here, and because it's awesome to just, I enjoy talking with people, in the bear community, and seeing what we can relate with and how we can grow, just as people, and like, if Owen comes on your show, that's going to be sick, dude. That'll be sick.
And these are the conversations you have when you go to a bear meetup. That's why I like to have bears on my show, because I always have the most interesting conversations, even if we don't totally agree about everything. We find something we agree on that nobody really talks about. And we just have this crazy conversation, and they're very open-minded. So I think you have to stick with Owen. You got to be open-minded and at least have a really good sense of humor, because it's like such high-level comedy. People think he's seriously yelling and all this stuff, and he's like, sometimes he might be, but he's
well. I mean, and even I have like, been like, oh man, why does he say that? And like, but you've got to be able to like, you've got to be able to poke fun at yourself. And
oh yeah.
To be in this community, you've got to kind of be able to kind of like take things with a grain of salt, because we will bust your chops,
Oh yeah, that's what I like about it. And once people realize that you could take your balls being busted, then it's like we're all good here. But yeah, it's cool. Usually though, when I go to meetups, it's like just having these conversations, but I think it's because they have that worldview to be able to be entertained by Owen. So it's like, yeah, they're definitely into some gravy.
Yeah, and you all are giants to me. I'm only I don't know how many Rogans is 5'4".
Oh wow, I don't know. I'm like a foot and an inch taller than you, dude. If we
Yeah,
got together, it'd be like Lord of the Rings. I really would be like Brandolph the Gray, that'd be great, dude.
yeah, yeah,
That's like
yeah.
Zerlath.
I really am a Hobbit.
That's hilarious. My friend Zerlath is a little shorter, because I'm a giant. And
Yes.
he reminds me exactly of a dwarf. He has he could be a dwarf. He has that dwarf energy, It's
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, I would say I'm more like an elf, but I could totally be like Gandalf. But yeah, I really, I mean, look at me. Except for I have a beard, so that's, I guess, what makes me more Gandalf. But
You kind of look like the Undertaker.
yeah.
You could
Where's
be the Undertaker.
Yeah, right. Where's my coffin at?
Did you ever watch wrestling back in your day?
I used to watch wrestling up in the 80s, though, like in the mid to late 80s, like the Hulk Hogan Ultimate Warrior days, like the original. I do remember like the Undertaker, though, because he was into it right as I was getting out. But I know the references because I went to a wrestling show in like 2018 or 17 because my friend Pat Oates is a giant wrestling fan, and he would talk about it on the podcast. So I would always like joke around him and make fun of him for it, but I do know too much about it because of that.
Well, I mean, I'll put it this way: if you're gonna believe that the moon landing was real, you might as well believe wrestling's real.
Yeah. And there was a time when people really thought it was real. Like I remember when people thought it was real, and then the whole thing got exposed. Geraldo, but they still punched him in the face.
Yeah, I remember what was it? What was his name that he actually did? He got in a fight with like Jerry Lawler, the comedian. They made a movie about
yeah.
him. But people he would piss people off so much. Like people
Roddy
were throwing.
Piper?
No, he was a comedian. He got in a fight with Jerry Lawler. It was in the. I think it was called like they made a movie about it called Man on the Moon or something like that.
Andy Kaufman.
That's him. Yeah. Yeah. But like he would go around and people would legitimately be like hated the guy. They were spitting on him as he was going to the ring and oh yeah. And then he wasn't his thing. Like he would like beat up, he would like only wrestle women. Like you had like matches where he would like only fight women, and beat them up.
Funny. Yeah, he was hilarious. Do you remember George the Animal Steel?
Oh yeah, yeah. The big, wasn't he like real big and hair, like not big but like hairy, and he like
He used to like eat the turnbuckles or something. He acted like he was like crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or he'd rip them up or whatever. But yeah, I know people that like know him and stuff. He's a really cool guy. He's just, an actor. He's probably all coked out of his mind. I'm sure all those guys did a lot of drugs, allegedly.
I want you to get on YouTube and there's a compilation of all these wrestlers, and it's like it's making them look real gay. They're like Hulk Hogan's like, yeah, I'm gonna come for you right on your face. And it's like you just gotta watch it. It's definitely like it charts on the Tate scale, definitely.
Oh yeah. It's so funny how what we're shown is supposed to be masculinity is just the most feminine thing, but they're just getting rough with each other. Yeah, it's an inverted society. You gotta love it. And once you see it, though, it's not as I mean, you could go through the level of how dare they, and they're doing all this, but once you see the I guess beauty of it all, to see how it could be so inverted, it's just really actually a testament to the creator, if you think about it, like,
yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, and I think I think wrestling was kind of a, I grew up, in the '90s and, Stone Cold and all that stuff. But I think it's almost like a needed distraction. Like I think people got lost in wrestling because they saw like a society around them that was getting so bad. Like you needed something. Like a lot of these wrestlers will tell you too. Like they come from a bad childhood, and like they saw there was this one guy I saw that he had like his brother got shot when he was real little, and the only piece he got was like turning on wrestling and like watching this. Like I think a lot of entertainment serves a healing aspect to like getting people out of this um, an ugly society that has been formed around them.
Yeah, one thing I can say is that time I went to the wrestling match, like there was thousands of people there and there was no sense of any fight. Like everybody was so nice to each other. Nobody was like acting tough or whatever. It was like going to like a freaking Lord of the Rings expose or something. Or they're all nerds. They're just nerds for wrestling, I get it. I'm a nerd. I'm not. But yeah, it was funny. It was really amazing. So yeah, I could see that people come together, they have something fun to do, and they have a story that's like they could take away from their crazy shitty life. Yeah, I get it. Trust me, that's why I used to watch it.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't watch it as much as I did when I was a kid, but like I find myself like reliving though because I remember like me and my buddies, we kind of like started our own like wrestling thing, and like we'd get on the trampoline and like
Yep.
oh, like I'm gonna stone cold stun you or something. It's just like when you play like backyard football with your friends. Same concept. At least in that way, if you're not like stuck inside watching a TV, you're out like doing something. And
Yeah, we
like,
used to play a game called Kill the Carrier in school. You
yeah,
can't play that anymore, and you just run as fast as you could into the person. We usually played outside of school, but I think saying I played in school is funnier. I might have to start saying that. We played Kill the Carrier. Like,
did you ever play Smear the Queer?
yeah, oh yeah, Smear the Queer. Oh, totally. That's what we really called it.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's just so funny to look how society was, when you could say stuff like that to where we are now, like where people have to tiptoe around who they say things around, and
I mean, Tolkien said queer like every other word, like, and now it just changed into this thing that you're not supposed to say anymore. Like for a while, it described people. For a while, it just described silly behavior, and then it described a certain group of people who like to, sodomize. And then it was like still represents them, but you can't say it now. It's like, no, what about Tolkien? He was just talking about a queer situation, You're the one who's making it gay. Hello, like not you, but the other person. Yeah.
And it's almost worse. Like Owen was talking about, like it's almost worse that when somebody says N word, and then the fact that everybody knows what that already means. It's almost like you could mean any N word. You could mean anything, but people are like, oh, we know what the N word is.
Exactly.
A week.
It's funny. Louis C.K. had a joke, and it was something like, he's like, don't say N word. He's like, because then you make me have to say that word in my head. He's like, just say the word, like, don't make me be the one to have to say it, like, be a man. It was so funny.
What if we changed it around, like the N word meant NASA? We can't say the N word. Like,
I like that.
Yeah.
When people say that, you mean NASA? You mean that it means to deceive in Hebrew? What?
Yeah, don't say that. Please don't say that around me. So that would mean they would have to cut off all the shows. We couldn't have we couldn't have them saying the N word anymore. So they would have to, Elon Musk would have to shut down whatever he's promoting because he couldn't say, you know, oh, you know, I don't know. You could just, but that's how how word magic works, though. You know, they get you like, they make you feel shameful about saying words, and there's nothing wrong with saying words, you know.
Bane Bear said N-words backward is brown. That's hilarious. N-word backwards is brown.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, it's so silly. But I think you could also use it to your advantage if you're in comedy or whatever, if you do it correctly. You know, look at how Owen does it. It's genius, but you can also play around with it in other ways, you know. But yeah, because you're really playing with people's emotions, you know, because they get worried. They're like, oh, there's black people here. Is there going to be a problem, you know? And then you make everyone laugh, and then it's a release of that tension. You know, you do it on purpose. You build tension, and then you release it.
Well, that's what made. I'll give you two examples of the same concept. Is like, you know, that's why wrestling was so good, because it was controversial, you know, especially in the 90s. But like, and even like, even with music, man, like you go back to the 80s, like, you talk about like Tipper Gore and shit like that. And like, remember, like they were wanting to put parental advisory stickers on all the CDs, and that just made the album sales increase. Like it's almost like a good thing, like to be like whatever they're pushing, to be opposite from them, because you will benefit, you know.
Oh yeah, you're the rebel.
Yeah, you're the counterculture, you know. So exactly. I mean, it kind of works out, but it's like wrestling used to be the counterculture, but now it's kind of like sucks because like they're trying to fit in with like, they're trying to go in with the, like, I've noticed that now, like they're always pushing like some gay agenda, or like, you know, like they're always like, it's okay to be gay, you know, you're like, you know, but like, so that's why I've quit watching, you know, about pretty much they've all sold out now, but you used to at least have like a sense like, oh yeah, these guys I can relate with them, you know, but now they're so, you know, pretty much anybody on TV is too far gone, you know, at this time, because they're just like doing what they can do because they've signed a contract and they've got, you know, so long, and they get their printed Graveler money, and they're just sold out, you know.
Yeah, 100%, man. And it's tough because that's stuff like I can't even go to a comedy club and watch comedy because people are like, you want to go to a comedy show? And I'd be like, no, you don't understand. I'd be like, what about the masks? Like, talk about the experimental medical serum, you freaking hack, you know, like nobody cares about your dick anymore. Like, talk about some real shit. And I don't know. I say that as a joke, but I might like yell something out as, you know, and just heckle them. But that's why I want to get back into doing it myself, because that's not healthy. No one likes that. I don't want to ruin some fun people's show. You know, they might not care about these things. So I'm just going to make my own and just make it silly like Rodney does, you know, not in the same way, but just in my own way. And then just drop those truth bombs when I can, or play with words when I can, especially with a puppet. You know what I mean? Like, you make the puppet say nigga, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't say it, you said it.
Yeah. Hey, that's good. Yeah. It's kind of like taking the, you know, that's kind of like that's kind of like what we're talking about, like taking the scapegoat mentality. It wasn't me, it was this, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. I got the scapegoat. I should say he's a goat herder. He's a scapegoat.
Yeah.
I think it's something funny with that. His name is Scape. I don't know.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I mean, like, take ideas and run with it, you know, like, I mean, stuff that, you know, even if you like, some of the best ideas come from just like, you know, just like being creative and just like thinking about even stuff that you might think is stupid, at the time, like just run with it and, just see what sticks, like just throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks,
Exactly. 100%.
Cause I feel like, what you was talking about, I can relate with that. Like, I think most people like that try, the fear of failure is what keeps them from actually doing anything, But if you just like do it, then you're not thinking about it. You like what you was talking about, like, like you was talking about, like, when will you know if you bombed or something, like on a comedy thing,
Yeah.
I thought that was cool because it's like you're taking away that fear of doing it by just doing it, you just like, and if you, what's the worst thing that can happen? I feel like that in the back of our mind, we get that what if, what if constantly, like, what if this happened? What if everything goes great and, things are good, then
Yeah,
what,
exactly.
yeah, then
I used
things
to
will be
take my
good.
I used to take my BMX bike at this giant ramp in the woods behind the library and like almost die every time. But like if I wasn't afraid to do that, I'm not gonna, am I gonna not get on stage? I mean, I waited till I was older, but I still did it. And that's another testament, like look at Rodney. He's older than me and he's blowing up. So it doesn't matter about your age. If you want to do it, you do it and you work on it and you hone that craft and yeah, good things can happen. I always
Dude,
push people to do comedy that are thinking about it.
yeah, like he did, and I think it's cool. Like I really look up to him because I haven't watched a whole lot of his stuff, but where he's an older guy, I really do, um, like hearing his perspectives, and I like how he does it in a way like, and he does it in a funny way, but it's true. Like that one thing he does, he's like when you like realize that they don't have much control, and then they're trying to like make you think that they have the control, but they don't have the control, and then like you just like once you realize that they don't have the control that you think that they have, then you can just like do your own thing and like be a good person, And I was like, yeah, it's funny, but that's true. Every
Yeah,
bit of that's true.
exactly. He's a true Christian comedian, and he's like Owen. I think Owen's a true Christian comedian just because that's how they identify with their belief system, but he's keeping it in accordance with that and he's spreading a lot of truth and he's not making any claims about being a Christian or even I don't even think people know it. They probably get it. Well, he does say it a little bit, but he connects with a really wide audience because it's just so silly and hilarious, but true. It's like people are like, oh yeah, that's true. I can't really it's like you can't turn it off when he's talking, Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's genuine, man. It's like you just like and I think people are just getting like like we need that injected back into our society. We need people that are real because everything that we see on TV is fake. Like they're coming up with fake wars. I mean, Ukraine used to be part of Russia. It's like all that's bullshit. They're just like trying to money launder stuff and like it's just all about the great. It's just another money war. Money. So they can establish another bank somewhere.
Yeah. It's just grabbler football.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love that term. Grabbler football. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, we've been going for about 2.5 hours, so we should probably wrap it up soon. But is there anything else you wanted to talk about or ask me or anything on your mind?
But
So
not
many
really.
things. No.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I mean, I could go on talking about, things for hours, but I just want to say thank you for having me on, man. And really had a blessed time and had a good time. And
Yeah, this is amazing, dude. I had a great time. This is a great conversation. This is why I love to go to bear meetups because you meet the coolest people and you get to talk to them. And now we get to record it and other people benefited. We have like 20 likes. Look at that. We're killing it. All right, everybody. Thanks.
We're crushing.
Chat. Thank you guys for hanging out. If you're watching this sometime in the future, you can find me at morelawsmoreproblems.com. Also, check out my other show, The Oversharon Show, where I do with the lovely Sharon, aka Ibelizima. She is amazing, and we have some really fun guests on. This Thursday, we're going to have Joe back on. We already recorded it, so we're going to be premiering it, but it was a really fun episode. I think you guys are going to like it. And again, next week I have Berserker Bear, Bushwhacking Buffalo, History in Buffalo. And I have Joe on from Contemplations of Spirit. And I have a lot of great guests lined up, as well as we talked to Pat Life on the Oversharon Show. And that's coming up next week. That was a really great conversation, really fun. He's a really good dude. I don't know if you ever talked to him, but tell him you want to be on a show. He'll probably have you on.
Who's that?
Awesome. Pat Life.
Oh yeah, I've watched him on. I've watched a lot of people on Hanging with Bears. I've seen like Rhino Bear and Pat Life. I think he was on that. Yeah. So yeah,
hit him up, man. Tell him you were on my show, and I suggested him for your show.
Okay, man.
He definitely will talk to you. I'll see who else we can get. I think because you are a Christian, I think it's great that you can come into some of these other circles where some Christians might not be able to. So, because there's a lot of great people out there. So, yeah. Where could people find you if they want to get a beanie or something?
I'm on Beartaria Times, at Hobbit Bear. And you can find me on Instagram, Hobbit Bear Ferrell. You can message me on there, and I've got a Facebook, Ferrell Quinton. I've got you on there. And then I'm on YouTube. Go subscribe to Quinton Ferrell and the Awoken.
All right. Yeah. I'm going to check that out. Actually, I'm very excited. Paraplegic Bear says, why haven't I been on? Am I too crippled? Yeah, you're too crippled. We're not going to. Yeah, dude, let me know if you want to come on. I have next week booked, but the week after, if you want to come on, usually doing these on Mondays and Tuesday nights. So yeah, I'd love to talk to Paraplegic Bear. I think that'd be hilarious. Yeah. He
better be sitting down.
Yeah, everybody better be sitting down. I'm not going to be. I'm going to be standing. Well, who knows? I mean, I could get hit by a bus between now and then. I could go to Baltimore and get shot by a black guy by then. No.
We'd start calling you Lieutenant Dan.
Lieutenant Dan, you ain't got no legs. Dude, that's great. I'm Lieutenant Dandolph.
Yeah, there you go.
Lieutenant Dandolph the Gray. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for hanging out to the end. We really appreciate it. And make sure you hit the thumbs up, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll see you this Thursday night for the Oversharon Show, Thursday, 8:33 p.m. And everybody have a good night.
Peace.
Up. Am I going to get us kicked off? I don't think I left. Hang on. What did I do? There we go. That was